darling baby.
He was never the kind of man who explained himself. Eric Clapton always let the guitar speak first. A single bend, a tiny pause, a moment of silence that cut deeper than any speech ever could. For decades, fans called him God, fellow players called him Slowhand, and anyone who tried keeping up simply called him unreachable. But behind the confidence and the legend was something quieter. A devotion not to applause, but to sound. To songs that pushed him forward. To albums that forced him to stay honest. He once said he played guitar to tell the truth. And these are the records that taught him how. Here are the 10 albums Eric Clapton says shaped his entire musical life. 1. Music from Big Pink, the band. The album that reset his internal compass. In 1968, when rock was chasing bigger stages and louder amps, Clapton found refuge in something softer. Music from Big Pink felt like a deep breath, a reminder that music doesn't need to shout to change a room. Cream was falling apart. Egos clashing, solos stretching into chaos, noise drowning out intention. But this album, it felt like a whisper with the force of an earthquake. Clapton said it made him want to blend into the song instead of standing in front of it. The band showed him that musical honesty could move mountains, and none of it required volume. 2. Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs, Derek and the Dominoes. His most emotional storm. This wasn't an album, it was a confession. Every chord was a bruise, every lyric a truth he couldn't say out loud. When it first came out, the world didn't get it. Too raw, too messy, too painfully real. But Clapton wasn't performing on this record, he was unraveling. His chemistry with Dwayne Allman gave the songs a heartbeat that felt human, wounded, and alive. He later admitted the album was basically his diary. And even now, when he plays Layla, you can still hear the price he paid to make it. 3. Revolver, the Beatles. The record that proved rock music could expand without losing its soul. When Revolver landed, it didn't just break rules, it rewrote the entire blueprint. Clapton realized that evolution wasn't about going louder. It was about going deeper. Tomorrow Never Knows felt like the future. I'm Only Sleeping made laziness sound philosophical. Eleanor Rigby turned strings into steel. Clapton learned that imagination could be revolutionary, and music didn't need to scream to change the world. 4. The Best of Muddy Waters, Muddy Waters. His true foundation. The first language he ever learned. Before Slowhand was a legend, he was a kid alone in a room memorizing Muddy's every growl and slide. These tracks weren't polished, they were alive. They didn't teach skill, they taught truth. He once said, "Muddy taught me that a note without soul shouldn't exist." Years later, standing beside Muddy on stage, Clapton wasn't meeting a hero. He was meeting the man who showed him the road. 5. Are You Experienced? The Jimi Hendrix Experience. The album that shook the earth beneath every guitarist. When Hendrix arrived, Clapton felt the ground shift. Are You Experienced wasn't a challenge, it was a revelation. Clapton saw Hendrix live in London and walked out speechless. Hendrix didn't play guitar, he became it. Electricity turned into emotion. Chaos turned into freedom. Clapton said Hendrix lived inside the instrument. And the album proved it with every track from Foxy Lady to The Wind Cries Mary. 6. Live at the Regal, B.B. King. The masterclass in elegance and soul. If Clapton ever had a spiritual textbook, this was it. B.B. King didn't overwhelm, he persuaded. He knew when to speak, and when to let silence carry the weight. Clapton studied that record like scripture. B.B. taught him that honesty outlasts speed. And when they finally shared the stage, it felt less like a meeting and more like a homecoming. 7. Disraeli Gears, Cream. Where chaos and creativity collided. Inside this album was the sound of three men pushing the limits of what rock could be, and of how much they could take. Tension, improvisation, arguments disguised as riffs. Every moment on Disraeli Gears felt like music fighting to be born. Clapton later called it beautiful mayhem, and that mayhem lit a fire under rock music that still burns today. 8. Then Play On, Fleetwood Mac. Peter Green's haunted masterpiece. Clapton heard this album and recognized a rare power. The power of vulnerability without theatrics. Peter Green didn't decorate the blues, he stripped it bare. Every tone felt like a memory. Every phrase felt like a confession whispered through a cracked doorway. Clapton once said Green was the only guitarist who ever frightened him. Not because he was better, but because he was painfully, beautifully real. 9. At Fillmore East, the Allman Brothers Band. A storm captured on tape. This album felt alive, stretching, breathing, roaring like a living organism. Clapton admired how every solo depended on trust. Trust in instinct, in chemistry, in the music finding its own direction. That's why he brought Duane Allman into the Layla sessions. The connection he heard on Fillmore East became the spark that lit one of his greatest records. 10. Highway 61 Revisited, Bob Dylan. The album that opened the door to fearlessness. Dylan didn't try to sound perfect. He tried to sound honest. Highway 61 mixed blues, poetry, and rebellion into something electric. Clapton realized that imperfection could be powerful, that a voice full of nerve could cut deeper than perfect pitch. Songs like Desolation Row and Ballad of a Thin Man proved that music could challenge you, confront you, or expose you, all in one verse. Every artist has a map. For Clapton, these albums were landmarks. Lessons in restraint, surrender, imagination, and truth. From Muddy's grit to Dylan's fire, from Hendrix's sky-splitting freedom to the band's humility. Each record carved a mark on him. Maybe that's why he believes the best music makes you disappear into it. Because that's what these albums gave him. A place to vanish, and a place to start again. Which album shaped your idea of truth? Tell us in the comments. And if you love stories hiding behind the loudest moments in rock, subscribe to Backstage Tales, where the quietest details make the biggest legends.